there's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. You know, it's just whatever. It's sick. Every time we start talking about Epstein, it makes your skin crawl. You're right. The whole thing is just disgusting.
Totally.
After additional documents and emails pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein were released earlier this week, Megyn Kelly seemed to question whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was actually a pedophile. Now, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but a 15-year-old is still a child. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Of course, the real question here, Jordan, is why is she making this defense? Because it is curious. And yeah, I've got a thought on why she might want to say maybe not a pedophile. Maybe we're misreading Epstein. Really, Megyn? Okay.
Well, while speaking to Batya Ungar-Sargon, host of Batya on News Nation on Wednesday, Kelly brought up a friend she has who is, quote, very close to the Epstein case. And despite them knowing, quote, virtually everything on the case, they didn't believe he was a pedophile. Take a look.
Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby.
Now, keep in mind the minimum age of consent in the United States is 16, so 15 isn't considered barely legal, it's just illegal. But Kelly continued and began questioning things even more. Take a look.
That is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn, now they call it child sexual abuse material, on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest.
And still talking about minors, but there's more.
I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10, I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. Look, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. You know, it's just whatever, it's sick.
Now, Kelly's comments were shocking to several people. Adam Kinzinger simply posted, Megyn R. Kelly. There were also more visceral responses. Activist Shannon Watts posted to X, Megyn Kelly trying to convince her listeners that sex trafficking girls is less offensive if they've gone through puberty. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. Megyn Kelly is using her platform and power to portray Epstein and Trump as horny men as opposed to sexual predators or pedophiles. Democratic strategist Ali Samarco posted, this is career ending for Megyn Kelly. 15-year-olds are children. They can't drive, they can't see rated R movies, but disgusting 50-year-old men should be allowed to rape them? Goodbye forever. Now, Megyn Kelly's show on NBC was canceled back in 2018 after she defended blackface on air, so it's unclear whether or not SiriusXM will take similar action. Neither SiriusXM or Kelly have made statements on that matter. Cenk, what do you make of this?
Yeah, I didn't get the Megyn R. Kelly joke. I have to confess, when Veta Dulcet, one of our members, wrote it in, I was like, oh, is her middle name R? And then I was like, oh, when you put up the Kinzinger thing. So Vita, who's our member, you're awesome. Okay, I want to give you credit for that joke. Okay, now on to serious stuff. Guys, look, I got a theory on this. Now, I always tell you guys, here's facts, right? Here's speculation, and it's an educated guess based on all the different contexts, right? So this is one of those things. This is an educated guess, not a quote unquote fact, okay? I couldn't be any clearer. So Megyn Kelly's been taking a lot of heat for not canceling Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. And I just saw a segment she did today where she's very mad at Mark Levin for going over the top and calling everybody Nazis, etc. But she's like, no, but my Jewish friends say that Tucker's wrong, and Mark could have a good point if he wasn't doing it in this terrible way, and etc. And so she feels stuck. She's constantly saying on air, I like Tucker, I don't want to cancel these people, but I'm getting a ton of pressure from the presumably the Israeli side saying pressure, cancel, cancel, cancel. So now all of a sudden in the midst of that pressure, she hears from her friends that Epstein wasn't so bad, that maybe it was just 15-year-olds. Now, at the same time, we're seeing the drop site news exposés, the bombshells saying Epstein talking to former Prime Minister Ehud Barak of Israel, and talking about how they're going to strategize to get America to bomb Syria, get America to bomb Iran, setting up meetings with Putin and Barak, etc. So clearly Epstein is trying to help Israel. Mainstream media is, so that's a fact. That's in the fact category, and mainstream media is hiding that fact. You can go read it on Drop Site News. There are emails from Ehud Barak and others. It's absolutely clear, right? So now that things are beginning to be revealed as to who was behind Epstein, all of a sudden, there's propaganda in American media. Well, was Epstein so bad? Was he so bad? I mean, if you find out that maybe it was us, remember, he wasn't so bad. It was just 15-year-olds, and maybe 14, maybe this, maybe that. But hey, no one that was 8 years old. That is a curious strategy. And look, Batya, I like her, as personally, etc. We've been down debates, we've been on the same side, different sides, etc. But Batya is, of course, very pro-Israel. And so Megyn Kelly goes, maybe he wasn't a pedophile. She's like, tell me more. And then she says, oh, you're right. I mean, I see what you're saying. That defense of Epstein's pretty good. Now, look, you heard all the caveats too. I don't want to hide the caveats. We showed you the caveats that Megyn Kelly gave, and Batya joined her in the caveats as well. But guys, just think about it this way, and Jordan, look, even if you believe this organically, like it popped into your head, maybe I should do a segment about how Epstein's not that bad. Why would you say it on air? Like, why now, in the midst of the Epstein mania, do you come out with a defense of Epstein? That is a curious, curious thing to do. So even if you think it's only half a defense of Epstein, super curious.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I mean, there's a couple ways of looking at it. I'm with you on the Israel ties. I also think that she might see the writing on the wall. I mean, the 20,000 documents released by the Republicans on the Oversight Committee weren't flattering for Trump. It gave them more names and more context to run with, and I was curious why they did that, and now we see today why. So they can handpick a few Democratic names or liberal donors or financiers that they can use to divert attention. But Trump is still in there extensively, and it's bad. And I think she recognizes, look, eventually this is going to come back around, and she's playing the long game. In addition to the Israeli angle, I think she's just trying to downplay the severity, while still create a caveat, oh, it makes your skin crawl, but it's not that bad, guys. Let's calm down. Come on. I think she's trying to create some sort of plausible deniability for Trump's involvement based on what I think she knows but can't admit, because that's not her role in the right-wing media ecosystem. She's going to defend him. She's going to defend Israel, and she's going to play the MAGA game. So she has to just kind of find some sort of triangulation where she can cover for him while still admitting it's bad, certainly when it extends to Democrats, and cover her a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that word right there, not the A word. And I think you could say ass. Triangulation.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah. No, this felt like triangulation 101, right? Now, look, if it's the Democrats, it's the worst thing in the world. But if it turns out it's the Republicans or Israel, not so bad, not so bad. right? So that was a little brazen. But you know what? Good news, guys. It didn't work. Big blowback. Nobody's buying it. And they're like, Megyn, what the hell were you thinking? And Megyn's a character that's very well liked on the right. And even the right didn't react well to this. They're like, no, it's a big deal. And this is weird. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true. But it does keep you updated on our live shows.